One of the fascinating places I have been privileged to see in my travels is the devoutly Hindu nation of Nepal, a country filled with rich spirituality and faith. This is apparent everywhere you look, from the many temples to the various rituals being performed. One thing you often see on the people themselves as an outward sign of their faith is a little dot in the middle of their forehead. Many people go every morning to the temple, and the holy men, the sadhus, put a red or yellow paste on their forehead, sort of like an Ash Wednesday every day of the year. If they can't make it to the temple, then their mother will put it on them, or some other elder member of the family. And that dot, which in that part of the world is called a tika, represents a third eye. Now, most of us see with two eyes. For some of us, the older we become, the less we see out of the two eyes that we do have. But the people of Nepal believe that we also have another invisible eye, a third eye, a spiritual eye, with which we can see things much more deeply than with our two physical eyes. What a beautiful concept this is, to see things in a different way. This concept of a third eye has a long tradition in Christian mysticism as well. In the Middle Ages, many of the monks, mystics, and saints wrote about seeing with this third eye, about seeing things in a spiritual way on a whole different level. The great modern spiritual writer, Father Richard Rohr, has written much about this third eye and our need to have that third eye opened. Those people in Nepal put the symbol on their forehead as a sign that they are willing to allow that third eye to be opened, that they are willing to see things in a deeper, more spiritual manner. Father Rohr tells the story of three men standing at sunset on the beach and watching the sun go down. One man, he says, saw the immense beauty of this sunset, and he enjoyed the event in itself. This man was the sensate type, who, like 80% of the human population, deals with what he can see, what he can feel, what he can touch, what he can fix. He is not worried about anything beyond that. This was enough reality for this first man, for he had little interest in larger ideas, intuitions, or the greater scheme of things. This man saw with his first eye, and that was good. The second man also saw the sunset, according to Father Rohr. He enjoyed all the beauty the first man had also seen. But he, like all lovers of coherent thought and technology and science, also enjoyed his power to make sense of the universe and explain what it was that he was seeing. Through imagination, intuition, and reason, he thought about the cycles and rotations of the planets, the changing positions of the stars, the nature of light. He saw with his second eye, and this was even better. The third man was watching the same sunset. This man saw everything just as the first two had seen. With his senses, he enjoyed the physical beauty. And with his intellect, he was able to figure out what was going on in the universe to create this sunset. But this third man was able to take it one step further. He was not content merely to enjoy the sight, nor was he content to explain it away in his mind. For this man was seeing with his third eye, the invisible eye, the spiritual eye as well. He was drawn into the great mystery of what he was seeing, and he was content to stand there in awed silence and wonder before this mystery. Since his third eye had been opened, this man allowed himself to be drawn into the connectedness with that sunset and with everything else around him. He used his third eye, which is the full goal of all seeing and all knowing. And this was the best of all. We all have a third eye. We all have the capability of seeing things in a deeper manner. We all have the capability of thinking a little bit differently. Jesus rebukes Peter for thinking as human beings think rather than as God thinks. Well, what's the problem? Peter was a human being after all. Why shouldn't he think as human beings think? But what the Christ was telling him was, you are capable of so much more. You are capable of seeing not only with your first eye, not only with your second eye, but you are capable of opening that invisible spiritual eye and seeing things as I see them. We all have the capability of seeing as the Christ sees. We all have the capability of allowing our third eye, our spiritual sight, to be opened. This is what it means to be a mystic, and it is not limited to Hindu lands and Christian monasteries. A mystic is not necessarily someone shut up in a cloister as a contemplative nun or monk. A mystic is anyone who can allow that third eye to be opened, who can allow themselves to be drawn into the mystery of what they see. When we do that, we are forced to stand there and either write a poem or say a prayer or just be silent and experience the awesomeness, the wonder, the connection. The great medieval mystic Meister Eckhart once said in a sermon, "The eye through which I see God is the same eye through which God sees me. My eye and God's eye are one eye, one seeing, one knowing, one love." We don't have to be a Hindu in Nepal to allow that third eye to be opened. Each of us is called to see things in a different light. Each of us is called, like Peter was called by the Christ, to dare to allow the eye of the Spirit to be opened, to perceive things in a far different way, to think not merely as human beings think, but as God thinks. To open our eyes, all of them, and see as the Christ sees. Let us allow our third eye, our spirit, to be opened, that we too may see with the wonderful eye of God.